demo and whatever. So anyway, it was definitely a worthwhile trip. So Port Townsend, if you haven't been there, is a lovely town.
Good Thai food.
Yeah, oh God, great Thai food.
Great Thai food.
Yeah.
So get that for
Banana
lunch.
salad, you really got to have that. Oh, it's good. So, let's see. So that was that event. What else did we do? We haven't done much else. So here we are. So today we have turntables.
What are those?
Three turntables. Okay.
Jerry's not going to be here, so I can't tell jokes.
You can't tell jokes.
I cannot tell
Oh, good.
jokes.
Oh, good,
I
because we
can't-
don't have. So Gary will
system.
do the formal introduction since as a good friend.
Since Jerry can't tell jokes, he's got the cold,
Terrible cold.
and we can do without one of Jerry's jokes today. So what we are having today is another one of our turntable fashion shows. We don't call it a turntable shootout or a turntable lineup or anything, but it's a fashion show because every model has got its own unique characteristics, and there are things to enjoy about all of them. But what we have done was we've got good, better, best. The good system is comprises the VPI Scout. If you picked up one of these, it has got most of the information in it, but as per normal club practice, some of it is wrong. So the Scout originally comes with a VPI 9 tone arm, which is a steel arm. But we upgraded it already to the Scout with the 3D printed tone arm. So instead of $2,200 with an arm included, it is $3,000 with the arm included. So we decided to treat you guys to more. It uses the Transfiguration Axia moving coil cartridge. What we tried to do is we tried to keep everything to the same kind of sound and family so that you would hear the differences as you go up. So all the cartridges are Transfiguration, all the turntables are VPI. All the phono stages were supposed to be Genesis, but I didn't have a cheap enough phono stage, so we brought in the Heat Quasar. Now the Heat Quasar is a $1,200 phono stage, external power supply, and I have got great respect for it. I don't think I could make a phono stage that good for $1,200. So that's why the Heat Quasar is there. Going up to the next level is 4 times the price of the first one. We've got the VPI Avenger reference. Is this a reference?
No, this is the regular.
No, this is okay. This is just the bulk standard Avenger. So this is $10,000 with the arm. But this one we already upgraded to the 3D reference toner with the Nordos wire.
Oh yeah.
And that goes into the Genesis Gold phono stage. So this with the Transfiguration Phoenix cartridge, this is about 4 times the price of that. Going up, then we've got the Vanquish. Now the VPI Vanquish is like a unicorn. Nobody has seen it. It's not at shows. They don't show it at shows because he didn't want to do it. It's his father's turntable. You see, I visited his dad. I listened to this, and I looked at him and said, "Harry, I need that. I want that," and I got it. So he was kind enough to send me a Vanquish. I've had quite a few. You guys know I've had quite a few high-end turntables. I think I thought that this. When I heard it, I thought it was one of the best turntables I've ever heard in my life. And now having lived with it for 8 months now, I'm sure it's the best turntable I've had in my life. So I've had another $100,000 turntable a couple of years back, and I thought that was the best thing I heard, but I think this one is better. But unfortunately, it is not $100,000. It's only 40, so it doesn't have the cash in.
Yeah, it's so inexpensive. It's like
Some change. Right. So today, what we are going to do is we've managed to get 3 identical LPs, 4 different LPs, all identical, and we are going to put one on each table, and we are going to play them all, and we are going to be able to sample them back and forth to see which turntable you like. Every turntable has got a characteristic. Depending on the music that we are playing, you may find one to be preferred over to another. But if you like blondes and I like brunettes, that's fine. That's fine with all of us. If you like chocolate ice cream, I like vanilla ice cream, it's fine with all of us. You know, this is not going to be a shootout. Then after that, we are going to have a break, and then we'll play music. We all brought music to play. I brought some of my unobtainiums that we will be playing again. And even while we were doing the setting up, the members were already buying up some of these albums, so the price goes up as the meeting goes on. And the big treat is we've got Mat Weisfeld, president of VPI, to come talk to us about the company, where he's going, the turntables, and music.
Yeah.
Matt, thank you for coming.
My pleasure to be here, Gary. Thank you all for having me. I have to say this is my absolute first time in Washington. And where the hell did that thunderstorm come from? Oh my God! No, seriously. I got to the point where I did a live stream on Facebook because I couldn't believe how ridiculous it was. I was in flip-flops, short sleeves, shorts and everything, and the guy's like, "Oh, what lovely weather." Like, "Oh, I'm gonna go for a stroll." In 5 minutes, I walk away from the hotel. I hear a little bit of thunder. Like, "Oh, I better get." If any of you are Facebook friends with me, check it out. I have the whole live stream of me running back like the idiot with the and the flip-flops. And and everyone's looking like they're honking their horn, waving at me. I'm like, "Thanks for the help." Thanks, Seattle.
You were running.
No, really. Yeah, if any of you saw a crazy guy, yeah, that was me. But no, really, it's been super exciting because first off, Seattle, I'm sorry, not just Seattle, a bit in a bubble here in Washington. Washington State has kind of been a bit of a blind spot for VPI for the past 3 years. And we've, it's just, well, we can thank our friend Joe over here. Joe has had a lot of interest. Actually, we can also thank Gary because he came over and he was so enthusiastic, he had to come back and tell all of his friends. And then once we heard about this meeting and everything, well, let's come on out for the fashion show. I like how you present it that way. That's a very lovely way. So now, the VPI has been in business for 40 years. I'm not that old. So, I was a little cruel. I did mess with somebody one time. And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, no, I love it so much. It keeps me young. Would you believe I'm almost 50? And they pause me. No, I'm messing with you. So my mom and dad, Harry and Sheila Weisfeld, started the company almost 40 years ago. It is 40. Next year is technically our 40th anniversary. And about 6 years ago, and just give a little background about me, because people always ask me, they're like, "Matt, did you major in business?" No. Were you an engineer? No. Were you like inspired? Was it your just burning passion to take over this company? Yeah, not at all. I possibly did. If you told me 6 years ago, "Matt, 6 years from now, you're going to be standing right here, having a meeting, telling us all about turntables," I'm like, "You're full of it. No way." I was very happily teaching high school education, high school and college technology, web design, animation, 3D modeling, a little bit of a foreshadow there. And I'd say that essentially everything I did to run away from this company, or maybe not run away, but just find an alternate path, actually gave me the tools I needed to help bring VPI to another level. My mom, Sheila, she loved, both my mom and dad, it started out, and all of you DIY, the folks out there, whenever you think, "Oh, I'm just a guy in my basement," that was my dad. He really was the guy in his basement making little tchotchkes here and there. And one of the first exciting things, actually, was when Denon approaches this guy, this Jew from Brooklyn, Harry Weisfeld, to make an isolation base for them. And at that point, my dad was like, "The bell at the ball." I mean, it's just like, this is fantastic. And there were other things as far as, now we all have Facebook now, so everybody knows. I love when I go to an audio show and some guy who has essentially stalked me comes up to me and like, "Oh man," hey, I'm like, "Whoa, stranger danger, I don't know who you are here." But back then, this is before anyone knows what anyone looks like. Back in the 70s, my dad is moonlighting at Audio Breakthroughs in New York. So he sits down, and he's about 27 years old. And he has no idea, but he just sat down next to Harry Pearson from The Absolute Sound. And they're just two guys listening, and then my dad's like, "Wow, this system sounds great!" And Pearson's like, "This system is shit!" You don't know what music is. Like, oh, jeez, man. Yeah, and then they got the talking and everything else, and I think initially HP, Harry Pearce, was just being like, pumping the chest. But then they got to talking, and like, wow, you know something. I like these little gadgets you're doing. So then, and I think I can hear the noise of the K-Audio cleaner, and I believe the designer is amongst the audience, or is one of the members? No?
No, Peter's not here.
Okay, well, either way,
He's a member.
cleaning, as we all know, is super important. Because if you have a filthy record, you're not only ruining your investment of your cartridge, it ruins the sound. So my dad, he's like 27, 28 years old, hanging out with Harry Pearson, and he plays a record for him. Then he cleans it on the Keith Monk's machine. Then he plays it again. My dad's like, you ruined me. I can't listen to my records anymore, and I can't afford that thing. Because that was about $2,000 in the 70s. Actually, forget the 70s, and I know my table's 22, so I'm saying this about this also. That's a lot of money, whether it's the 70s or today. And what happened was my dad went home and he thought about it, and I believe that HP gave him the Keith Monk's machine to play with. So he played around with it and everything, took it apart, put it back together, left a couple of parts out of it that were unneeded, and then he ended up designing what would later be known as the HW16, well, now the 16.5. And at the time, so he brought it back, and Harry Pearson reviewed it. Now, no one remembers the HW 1 through 15. So, and may that be inspiration for those of you who have been doing DIY projects and that you might think is the best thing since sliced bread, and everyone's just like, psh, well, just wait till you get to number 16. That's when it, but so the HW16, and the way the story goes, because Harry Pearson wrote a review on this, and said that it was as good, if not better, than the Keith Monk's machine at a fraction of the price. So my dad was a sheet metal mechanic. That was his real job. And I'm sure all of you who are making stuff, you have the day job. He comes home and my mom's like, well, got good news and bad news. Yeah? What's the good news? You know those thingies you're making in the basement? You got an order for it. I'm like, that's great. What's the bad news? It's for $500. Get working. And just like that, and a fun little thing that people don't realize about VPI, because everyone always asks me, what does VPI mean? Then we always jokingly tell you, like, if I tell you, I gotta kill you. So it's, but actually, Harry Pearson was very much into astrology. My dad was a Virgo. So initially, it was like, you should call it Virgo Industries. My dad's like, that's a terrible name. We'll call it VPI. My mom did not know what the VPI stood for. So my mom registered VPI, Virgo Product Industries Inc. And that's the acronym. So that was a fun little thing. But so the company grew out of the basement, eventually moved to New Jersey, and we went from being in the basement to a 1,500 square foot building where my mom, dad, grandma, who still works there. If you want to have one of the most colorful conversations with an almost 90-year-old grandmother, Jewish grandmother, call on a Thursday. Hello? That's my grandma. And she has no filter. No filter at all. She comes up, she'll just say things. Or like, I've got this one guy who's been trying so hard to lose weight. And he's doing so good and everything. And he was going down. And she walks in and is like, looking a little fat today, Mark. You better skip lunch. Like, Grandma! Morale of the company. But, so, I digress. So my grandma, who still works there, so initially VPI was my mom, my dad, my grandma, and this guy Leo, who I jokingly say came with the building. Like we opened up the building, he was chained in the back. He still works for me, and even after 40 years, his hair is still the same color. So it's like a chia pet. But and it was my dad and Leo who made anyone who has an HW19, a TNT, or has ever owned it. It was more than likely built by both my dad and or Leo. And all the office work was my mom and my grandma. Now, we were so small, but people loved our tables so much that with the distributors, and I think this happened with Woody, Gary and I have a shared distributor, that we were so small that our woodworker loved my mom. So whenever people would come by, she would bring them to their factory. Because they actually had a conference room. They actually had like tables and stuff. Oh, and it was so great. We have the meetings there and everything, and it was just like stepping stones of growing and growing and growing. As the brand evolved from the HW19 to going high end with the TNT, and then we made our own tone arm. And that's important because it does tie into what we're listening to today, and my comment about being a 3D modeling teacher. My brother Jonathan, now this is actually really key about the company. I should not be running this company. I did not have the passion growing up. I appreciated and loved what my mom and dad did, but this is the love and passion I didn't know I had till much later in life. My brother Jonathan Matthew Weisfeld, JMW, he was the one who he actually skipped school one day and told my parents, oh, they gave me it was a half day. Like, what are you doing? It's not a half day. He wanted to come in to build a table. So he was skipping school to make turntables. He unfortunately died, though, when I was 10 years old. So then from there, he was working on the unit pivot that we're listening to, so all these years later, still have it, still the same concept. And that was the tone arm that my brother and my dad were designing together. Now, unfortunately, John never lived to see it, but then after his passing, it was a car accident. So it's unfortunate. And with us, with my family, we celebrate life through music. So my dad finished the tone arm, came the JMW arm. And then we kind of became a complete turntable. And we had used Rega tone arms, Graham's, Souther arms, all those phenomenal tone arms. And then we had the JMW arm. It grew the company some more, kept on going with it. Then we went to the Scouts. Actually, I digress. The Aries was first, but still too big of a footprint. And those who were coming in earlier, I commented about IKEA. My dad actually looked up what the standard table size of an IKEA nonsense shelf was. And that's what he based the Scout chassis off of, the original Scout. So then we had the Scout table, another jump with the company. So things continued, leveled off, and then CDs happened. And then everyone asked my dad, so Harry, what are you going to do when you go out of business next year? Yeah, ironically, of those stories, one of those guys, I won't say who, one of those guys did go out of business, and he was digital, so just desserts. But realistically, while everyone else was getting out, my dad just still liked to make a great turntable. And we stayed in there. We did not have crazy overhead. When people ask, like, what's the secret? How'd you survive? A lot of companies, it's kind of like advice for anyone who maybe is stepping above the DIY and growing. Don't grow too fast. Man, like, you get some of these companies that just expand, and then before you know it, they become box movers. So during the dark ages of vinyl, you still had my mom, my dad, my grandma, and Leo making turntables. And then me, I was the one who did all the computer stuff, and I was all savvy with websites and opening an email for my mom. And then the vinyl resurgence comes back, and my mom is diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. This happened about 6 years ago. I was very happily a teacher at this point, and I wanted to go off on my own and do my own thing. And at the time, not even wanting to do any of this. So when my mom was sick, VPI almost went out of business. It was like my dad gave up, and with my dad not working, we just lost 50% of our workforce. So it's tough being a 1 to 2 man shop. And then my mom, we ended up getting an award for the Classic 3 turntable. I believe that was it was 2011, and we were supposed to go to CES, so my mom could say goodbye to all of her friends. She didn't make it. She ended up dying 2 weeks before CES. Now at this stage, my dad's totally shot. He's like, oh, forget it. I'm done with this stuff. He's like, what are you going to CES for? We're done. Time to retire. Time to call it. And I went anyway, and it was the assumption that since I was there, oh, thank God, man. Oh, you're taking it. Oh, good. And then Woody, oh my God, talk about, my grandma, she's good with the Jewish guilt, but man, Thai people are pretty good also. Our